A Swift Kick in the Ass, episode 92.
All big changes start with a swift kick in the ass. Join the journey of lifelong friends, John Curren and Tom Stewart, as they make conventional thought bend over and take a boot to the keister. Warning, listeners may notice a force equal to or greater than needed to get your ass moving. A swift kick in the ass, living life on your terms.
Welcome, I'm Tom Stewart, and I'm joined with a lifelong childhood friend, John Curren, and today's episode, Positivity, Living Life Like a Samurai. And it's ironic that I say that, John, because I could be the opposite of being positive right now. Last two episodes, we've been following along my medical journey as my neurological condition takes hold of me and trying to figure out what it is. My doctors thought I had MS. And so finally, one doctor told me I got choked out in jiu-jitsu and that she thought I was hypoxic. I didn't believe that. I went for a second opinion. Other doctors said, well, it could be a tumor, the way it's shaped. So, you should get a biopsy. I didn't want to do it right away, but I researched it. And I was like, let's do it. Took a lot longer than I thought. So I finally got my results. And unfortunately, they're not MS or not anything like I thought that they were going to be. It's a grade 3 anaplastic astrocytoma. It's brain cancer. And as you can hear, I'm still slurring because I'm yet to go into treatment. I start chemo coming up a couple of days. I start chemo and radiation. My brain tumors, I have 3 of them, are inoperable because they're too deep, too close to important sections of my brain. So I am going to go the radiation and chemo route. On my own, besides that, I'm also going to pursue cannabis oil because I've heard that some people with my same exact brain cancer, the cannabis oil, the THC in it, supposedly eats cancer. I'll try it. I'm not very much on trying alternative medicines and stuff, and a lot of stuff I believe is hooey. But I've researched and I've checked out the videos that are out there, and I believe it's legit. So I'm going to try it, John. I live in Florida, so I can get medical marijuana. I went to the doctor yesterday and filled out all the forms. It'll take probably about 3 or 4 weeks, and I'll get a card, and then I'll be able to buy medical marijuana. And it's not for smoking. I mean, I can smoke, which might help for like the side effects of like chemo and stuff, but the actual medicine is the oil. That's what I want because I have to ingest it. I have to drink it. I'll still get high, so I'll probably take it. They suggest at bedtime, so I'm not sitting around high all day. I'll still wake up and still be high. So
the next show is we're just going to be laughing the whole time.
So right? And if it works like it's worked for other people, I will be the biggest advocate for medical marijuana that you've ever seen. And I'm not a drug user. I don't smoke pot regularly. I've done in the past. Me and Sean, when we were kids, did it together. But I haven't touched this.
No one saw us do that, Tom. Yeah. No one can prove anything.
Right. Okay? So I it's not something I do, but now I'm already an advocate. I'll gladly take it, and I have a friend that vapes it medically, and I thought that might be an interesting idea to cut down on nauseousness and side effects of chemo.
Yeah.
But smoking it will not cure my cancer. Only ingesting the oil. So
yeah, I've seen some videos of that where there are people having seizures, epileptic seizures, and it's just amazing with the oil.
Yeah, there's a good documentary. It's actually on right now, and you can catch it on YouTube. It's called Weed, and it's by Sanjay Gupta on CNN. It's very well done. It's a 4-part series. And you can get 1 through 3, I know, on YouTube, and number 4 is coming out this week. But if you're listening to this after the fact, it will probably already be out as well. I bet you can find it on YouTube.
Yeah, so this conversation, this episode is not really about medical marijuana it's mostly to provide our listeners with an update on Tom's condition. And I know that you've all been, sending him a lot of, heartwarm, prayers and thoughts, and sending the good, positive vibes his way. And, that's really what this episode is all about.
Yeah, that's
that's just where he's at. But to add on to the medical marijuana issue, I think that if the scheduling of that drug changes from a Schedule 1 drug, which is basically they're saying has no medical benefit whatsoever, once it gets descheduled, then that will open up the world, that will open it up to studying. And I think that that needs to be done. I think that if there's a chance of it helping people, then we need to do that. And I really hope that it helps Tom. And
I was watching a documentary, John, like you talk about for epileptics. There's this little girl in family, I think, lives in Colorado, and they wanted medical marijuana. First, they didn't want,
They moved there because
a lot of
they lived.
Actually, there's like marijuana refugees, medical marijuana refugees, because they can't get it in their states, so they're moving from Texas, Georgia, wherever, so they can get it. But this girl, she's like 5 years old, and she had like 100 seizures a week, constantly. And each one could be life-threatening. They finally researched marijuana, and the growers did not want to sell it to her at first, but they convinced them. And there's one marijuana which has like no THC berry. I think it has CBD. That's the other component of marijuana, and that's what they needed. So they have made a drug out of it. Now they call this marijuana plant Charlotte's Web because her name's Charlotte. And other children are taking it because now she has one seizure a week by taking that drug.
Yeah, if it can improve your life, I'm all for it. But again, this is a really interesting topic, and I'm sure we can have others, especially if we get a lot of input from our listeners saying, yeah, they want to learn more about it. We're happy to talk and about it. But this episode is really about providing the update on Tom's condition, and as we mentioned, living like a samurai.
Right, because we've talked about this before, where samurai, when they fight, the reason they are so effective is they already considered themselves dead. They didn't care whether they got cut or lost an arm or what have you. That's kind of how I'm thinking. I already know that this is a terminal disease. Excuse me. But you have to live like a samurai and realize that the only way to beat it is to
I know how difficult this is, Tom. We'll give you a minute, buddy. I think part of this too is that there's a great emotional weight attached to this. We can talk all we want about how to live like we don't have tomorrow, but when you're handed a terminal condition, when you're given that, I saw this with my dad. That's where the rubber really meets the road, and like I said, it's one thing to say you should live your life like there isn't tomorrow, but when you're handed a diagnosis that says, that tomorrow's coming sooner than you think.
Right. And one of my side effects, John, is I have no control over my emotions. It's something I thought I had for a while. It's one of the reasons I thought I had ALS, because it's very common in ALS. First, I wasn't sure if I had it. I'd be watching like the news. There'd be a sad story, and I'd get emotional. I'm like, why the hell am I getting emotional watching the news? But now it comes out as either crying or laughing. So
it hasn't started the medical marijuana just yet.
So this morning, my dog, he threw up on the blanket, right? And Jennifer, my wife, got in bed with me, and she stepped in it, not realizing it, and pulled it into bed, and it was all over her. And she was like, "Oh my gosh!" She didn't know if it was shit or shit or vomit at the time, but it was dog food vomit. Yeah, I just couldn't help it. I started laughing.
See, but you have an excuse. I
a-
would probably laugh too. I mean,
Well, that's what she said. She said I'd be laughing anyways, but it was a little bit more
you know,
uncontrollable.
my father died of ALS, and he had a very aggressive type, which the longevity is the survival rate is more than 3 years after diagnosis, and so my dad went through that uncontrollable emotion, and like Tom said, you're either you're crying or you're laughing, but in my mind, in my mind, the way I looked at it is that what, you're handed this news, and it's heavy news. I mean,
Yeah, man, and
it's like a punch in the gut.
and
I mean, it's worse than a punch in the
I
gut.
want to keep this episode positive. I was going to get on here and slam my doctors because they made me wait for a long time, gave me wrong diagnosis, and the way they handed me my diagnosis was very bad. I'm trying to keep it positive, but I was basically doctor was not there for my appointment. It was like in surgery. It was a scheduling malfunction. Anyway, so when he did come in, he was like, "So your MRI?" He pulls up, goes, "So this is a grade 3 tumor," and it hits like a ton of bricks. I honestly thought I had some form of MS. All my symptoms lined up with it, and it was, none of the symptoms lined up with a tumor. Tumors usually light up on MRIs. Never did that. Never changed. Never appeared to grow or anything. So I didn't think it was a tumor. We were flabbergasted when we got it.
Yeah.
But you deal with what you got,
I mean, when you first told me, Tom, and Tom told me through a text, it was like when I heard my dad's diagnosis, and it was like a punch in the gut.
Yeah, and that's how
you're just doubled, where you're doubled over. And this is coming from someone who didn't receive the diagnosis himself personally, but going back to what I was saying about the emotion attached to it, there is deep emotion attached to this, and if you're crying or upset over this, I would think that I think that would go with just the territory. You're going to feel something. If you're not feeling something, I think that's wrong.
So the doctor dropped that cancer bomb on us and basically was there for less than 5 minutes, John. I asked him a few questions. He answered very monotonely, and that was it. I had no idea about treatment. Couldn't schedule the next treatment until a week later at least. So, I mean, the whole thing was a bad experience. But we turned it around. We went to a new hospital, very good, the Cancer Institute of Miami, which is Baptist Hospital, and as I told Jen, it was like cancer. It was like Disneyland for cancer people. Very, very, very good service, customer service. Best doctors. They have doctors that specialize in brain cancers. That's why I chose that particular place, even though they're like 40 miles from my house, and 40, not highway miles, 40, bumper to bumper traffic miles, because I got to go radiation 5 days a week for 6 weeks, but they have the experts, they have the newest machines and the best technology. If trials come in for experimental stuff, they get them. So that's what I chose. That's where I'm going.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're going there, because the doctor that Tom is that's managing Tom's care, he's top notch from what I understand, and he specializes in brain cancer. And especially when your life is on the line, you want the best possible care that you can get. And driving 40 miles, I know it's tough, and especially when you have to do that day in and day out. Even if it's for 6 weeks, going to seem like forever.
Yeah, and I can't drive myself, so I have to have my wife has to take off from work or work remotely part of the time. My brother's going to help out, and then we're waiting for my daughter to graduate, finish school for the summer, and then she will take over and drive me. But yeah, it's going to be very difficult. There are some programs, National Cancer Institute or Cancer Association, will work out if I wanted to stay down there for a few nights. I'd probably get a free room at a hotel or something, but I'll save that probably till later on in the treatment when it's really hitting me.
Yeah, so going back to, when you're given this type of news, it's personal and it hits you hard. And we talked about how, when that news isn't coming directly to you, it's really easy to talk about how we need to live life like there's no tomorrow. And that's really, it's true. There isn't. And everything that we've talked about on this show in the last 5 years, this is really has taught us, I think.
This is the pinnacle, because we've talked about this. We talked about you don't have time. You think you do. And I thought I did. I was healthy because I did 100 flights of stairs a day, jiu-jitsu 3 times a week, lifted weights, worked out, did yoga.
Didn't drink.
Eat good. Don't drink. Don't smoke.
Marijuana.
Yep. Drink water. I kicked my Diet Coke habit on the show. And, I've been drinking water for the last couple of years. You just never know, man. Because I had everything. I had my entire body scanned, every blood test you could possibly imagine. Cancer didn't show up. It was in my brain, though.
You made the comment to me when you're first going through this to say, you're, according to your blood work, you're Superman.
Yeah, man, I'm Captain America.
Yeah, and I comment back. I say it's more like Robin. Just like when we were kids.
Yeah.
I'm Batman and you're Robin.
Yeah.
But you're truly, you truly are Superman, Tom. And as far as a positive, upbeat, when Tom shared the news on the text, he had actually called my house, and I was out to pick my son up from the bus stop, so I missed his call, and so I called him back. My daughter told me that he called, and I knew he was getting news, so I wanted to talk to him about it, and I had no clue either. I was thinking it was going to be MS. I was thinking really the best case scenario to where they'd give you steroids and you could manage the condition. I was not expecting the news, and then I get this. I couldn't reach him on the phone. It was just rung off the hook, and I'm like, well, that's strange. That was just 5 minutes ago. So I checked my text, and Tom writes and telling me the news, and he says, I don't want to talk about this right now.
Well, I could.
You said don't call. You said don't call. I don't want. And I remember back when when I learned when my dad's diagnosis, and how that felt, and I felt exactly the same way when I learned about Tom's. It just took the wind right out of me. It was devastating to hear that. And I understood, Tom, as much support as you're getting and people coming to you, and, asking about you, that in itself can be very tiring too, because you're having to repeat yourself. And
this show, John, is part effort to that. A lot of people I keep in contact. They follow me on Facebook, friends and family.
Right.
They don't know. And this show is going to be how they find out. So,
yeah.
But when you did that, I wasn't trying not to talk about it. I didn't want to talk about it so my kids would hear. Because we were waiting for my daughter to get home. We didn't want my son to find out.
Yeah, no, and that's the point. Now, the point that I was trying to get to in a very long-winded way was that, here I was reading this text and feeling one way and thinking one way, and I got this, kind of image of Tom just sitting there, just in total despair, and with not just crying, and it was a terrible picture I had in my head.
It
wasn't true.
No. It was just honestly to protect my kids. I wanted to make sure I could tell them both at the same time, so they had the support of each other. Trying to find what I was looking at that day. That was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, because I was going to go there, get an MS thing or whatever, and I didn't care if I lived with a disability. As long as I could live, that's all I cared about. I did not expect to get the news I did. I prepared myself some for it, but I didn't expect it. In fact, I still have the website, John, up here. And it was Seneca basically talking about grief, death, and facing is from the Daily Stoic. But basically, what they were saying is, in their mind, they didn't exist before they were born, and there was no pain, there was no nothing. So that's how they relate when you die, you know. And you know, I'm Catholic, or you know, go to a Catholic. My family's Catholic. I'm Christian. I raised my children as Catholic. You know, hopefully there's something after, but there's not. What's the worst? I don't remember before I was born. You know, do you? Right. Can't be that bad, right? So it's just, you know, we all have to face this.
Yeah. You know, and as much as we think we're prepared for certain things, like even with my dad's, you know, illness, you know, when you know the end is coming.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make it any easier, even when you think you're prepared, and it doesn't ever come at the right, you know, at a time that you would ever be prepared. Now, you know, the difference I see with Tom, and I'm not, you know, I was thinking about this too. Tom has so many factors going for him in this regard. You know, is this going to impact him? Yes, absolutely. But I don't think it was the death sentence that my dad got. Now I could be wrong, Tom. And
well, the thing is I have a chance. I can fight, and you know, people, you know, if you know me, I'm a fighter.
Right. Oh yeah.
So yeah. And you know, I have my health going for me, so that will make my age. Well, I'm still 50. It's a little bit up there, but the health portion, I'm healthier than most 50-year-olds, and I think that's going to help me get through the chemo and the radiation to get me to the other side. And hopefully during that time when I experiment with the medical marijuana and the cannabis oil, and you know, clean up my diet. Right now, the doctor says eat whatever you want to keep weight on. But after I get out of there, I've heard alkaline and acidic and what have you. I'm going to try following more of a ketogenic, paleo or whatever diet in order to try to not feed the cancer. And, you know, any little thing that can help, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, you know, and that's so true, you know, and I agree with you. You know, in my dad's case with ALS, first of all, he was 80 years old when he got diagnosed. He had lived a good life, and he had been healthy all of his life. So as much of a shock as that was, he was at the end. He was closer to the end.
Yeah, sure.
You know, of his life life expense.
I much rather be 80 than 50. But you know, I've always said, I used to tell Jen that if I die today, I've lived a good life. I've raised my kids right. And at least I didn't have this when my kids were little. That's why that would have sucked. My kids, you know, my youngest one is 15. So yeah, that sucks. But hopefully I'm here for a while.
I mean, it does suck. Yeah. I mean, and I would never wish this upon anyone. But I think, Tom, what you're doing is you're finding that silver lining, and that's something else that we've talked about on this show, and hopefully our listeners can take away that no matter how bad you think you've got it, someone else has got it much worse than you, and there's some good that typically comes out of anything that's bad. You know, with my dad's condition, his condition, it did change him. I mean, the disease changed him, but it also, I guess, I don't know, it in some ways it humbled him. You know, it brought things into perspective. It brought life into perspective for him. It brought us closer together. It brought our family closer together. There was a lot of good that came out of the pain and the suffering.
I've told Jen that I've already, you know, I've kind of mellowed out. I'm not, you know, not aggressive driving. I'm more mellow. I'm, you know, things mean more to me. And like money doesn't faze me. Things like family is what phases me. And that's family and friends and all the support I'm getting. You know, and like I said, not everyone knows yet. This will be a bombshell for a lot of people.
Yeah. You know, it's and that's what we hope. You know, this is the greatest swift kick in the ass that a person can get. And that's the purpose. That's the whole. I mean, when Tom and I came together to put the show on 5 years ago, we wanted to help people, and we love that. We love helping people, and we love the feedback that we've received from our listeners throughout the years about how we've helped them and get them through dark times. And what we're here to say is that we're in that group too, of getting swift kicks in the ass, and no matter what happens, we plan on continuing as long as we possibly can. What the future of the show holds, we don't know. We can't say exactly how this is all going to end up, but we will be here and we're going to continue this. And
one positive silver lining, yesterday when I was heading out to get the medical marijuana license, Jen had to take a picture because I've got like a new style. I'm now rocking a cane. So, because I'm walking messed up, and now I'm wearing hats. So I've got like a new style. I bought a bunch of different new hats and had some long like sweatpants on kind of thing. I feel like I'm dressing like an old man, but it looks kind of cool because I got slip-on sneakers because I can't tie my shoes. But yeah, I got a cool new style, man. So that's one thing.
You know what? One thing I learned from my dad. He told me this as he was going through his illness, that we can't sit there and think about everything that we can't do anymore and people that we've lost or the things that we can't do, or all these negative things that creep up in our life that consume our thoughts. He said that's just a waste of time. He says there's plenty he can do, and he planned on doing it. And you know what? He did that till the day he died. In fact, even up to the very last day, he loved. My dad's Irish, and he loved his Guinness, but he had a feeding tube. So even up to the last day, he would have a Guinness a day, and through his feeding tube. He wanted to be of service to people, and he was right up until the very end.
Sure.
And and again, we hope that's a takeaway for our listeners to say, what, life is difficult. We've talked about this on the show. Life is difficult. Don't expect it to be any other way. And some things you might not like them, but fighting it is not going to be productive. Like, wallowing in pity, self-pity about what the woe is me, what's going on here. Some of it, of course, is natural and it's a good outlet, but don't sit there and feel sorry for yourself about things that you can't change. Work on the things that you can change, because there's plenty of things that you can, and adapt to your new circumstances as best as you can. I think Tom, seeing Tom going through this, and seeing how he's adapting, when he was talking about, how there's cane fighting, and he's been involved in jiu-jitsu for all these years, and his mind is already thinking about how to adapt to his new circumstance.
And there's a host of different canes, John. There's canes that turn into blow darts, like blow guns.
Yeah.
It's like the penguin, when he had that trick umbrella. There's actually canes that turn into umbrellas. There's ones that have swords in them. There's ones that have flask. There's all kind of cool things. So I found that really interesting. And I was showing you one. It was like a walking stick. It was a shillelagh. The guy swinging at a cinder block and smashed the cinder block. I was, that's cool.
Yeah, it's I have so much respect for Tom. I've known him since I was a kid. We've known each other since we were 4 and 5 years old. And for me, I should be the one to go first. and not saying, and maybe I will be, and who really knows, but don't count Tom out. Tom is a fighter, and he's in a fight right now, and we're gonna keep on sending the positive vibes as his way. We'll keep you updated, and we're gonna keep learning together, and regardless of all this, we're gonna get through this.
Right. So the main thing we take away is, even if you don't have cancer, be positive. I have to be positive to survive. But
yeah, actually, thank you, Tom, for bringing me back on point there. So I had this vision of Tom, being just an emotional basket case, and as you can see, it's quite the opposite. And think about all the energy caught up in these negative emotions. Tom is going to need his energy. His life depends upon it. Going through chemo and radiation is going to be extremely difficult, and Tom has a difficult path ahead of him. But those emotions, will work against you. But you can rechannel that energy into more positive things. And that's, I think, what the point I was trying to make earlier. And thanks, Tom, for bringing me on point. Don't wallow in pity. Try to channel that energy, whatever you're feeling, into a positive.
Yeah,
outcome.
I gotta think about rainbows and puppy dogs. Because really, I said I could have came on and really slammed the Cleveland Clinic for the treatment that I received. That was subpar. And I had a lot of grievances, but I decided I'm not going to do that. This is my time to spend with family, time to appreciate the things I have. People have been bringing me dinner. People have been bringing me gifts. Someone else that offered me marijuana, but I said, no, I'm going to go through legally and get it. But yeah, it's you see the support. I know that it's hard for my wife, all the extra, because I used to help her with the housework. Can't do the housework anymore. My son has stepped up. And I remember when I had to step up, when my father was had lung cancer, and I had to step up like that. So I know that feeling. But he stepped up tremendously and is becoming very responsible and helpful. It's there's a tough road ahead, but I'm not going to back down. Everyone knows I'm a literal jiu-jitsu fighter. Now I'm fighting something that is a lot worse than any opponent I've ever had. Forgive my voice; it goes in and out. This thing has had me, it's wiping me out. I told Jen she's going to be bringing me to in a wheelchair before I ever get treatment, and it's almost the case. I actually have a wheelchair now, but yeah, man, it's I'm not giving up.
Oh yeah, and for those of you who are just hearing this now, I'm sorry that there's no good way to hear this type of news, but we hope that a lot of good comes out of this episode, regardless of your circumstances.
Yeah, and as I look at it, I'm not, we talked about this before. I'm not in Stoneman Douglas, shooting spree. I'm not having a bridge drop on my head. I'm not getting in a car accident. I have time with my family and time to appreciate. What's that song? You live life like you're dying. Well.
Yeah. Well, right? Even though it's up, even though this makes it more likely, that Tom will be has to face that now, and based on what he's going through, we all are facing it in our own way. We all have to face this one day or another, in any number of different ways. Who knows what that will be? Who knows what that will be for Tom? Honestly, his story is not finished yet, and it's not finished for any one of us if we're sitting here, listening to this show.
Well, John, I think my mic has been making noise, and I don't know why, but I've tried a new setup, and evidently something's wrong with my setup. So we're probably gonna have to call it quits, and until next time. And I thank you for listening. I thank you for the support. And as always, I'm not dead yet, man. Peace.
Yeah, peace.
And once again, check out swiftkickintheass.com. We have our membership site there, free. It's John's Simple Spending Plan. Help you get your stuff together. And anything you want to send to us, knock it out. Or you can contact us there, or you can contact us by swiftkickinttheass@gmail.com. We always welcome feedback, and we also have our Facebook page, Swift Kicking the Ass.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you, and we'll talk to you all later.
All right, later. Peace. See ya.
Peace.